Hello, I'm William Morright,
And I'm Hattie.
and this is our podcast, HattieJo. What are we doing? So, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Merry Christmas, everyone. We're in a holiday spirit here at the Cutcliffe Wright House, so it's going pretty good. So we are here doing our last podcast of the year.
It's officially Christmas Eve. Winnie is snoozing away, waiting on Santa to arrive.
Yep.
So,
Yep, she will be Santa will be coming here soon, and we'll be getting ready. We are celebrating Christmas Eve here. In this episode, we're going to just kind of recap 2024 as we get ready to head into 2025. And so it's crazy, like just a year ago, we were in Cancun, Mexico. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we started the year off.
I was pregnant.
Yeah. So we started the year off in Cancun, Mexico, celebrating New Year's, which was a great time. We got to experience some of the culture. We went to it wasn't the Mayans. What was the?
Yeah, it was the Mayans.
It was the Mayan civilization.
Yes.
Yeah, and we learned about some of their culture. And it's funny. One of my
we went to Chichen Itza.
Yeah, one of the kids in my class, he actually the tower that has the snake on it he actually brought in a book that has that like a picture of that statue or tower, and I was looking at it, I was like, that looks really familiar, like I was just there like last year, like so yeah, it was a great time. My good friend Patrick and his girlfriend Claudia, they had a house there, so we were able to go and stay
Claudia's family.
Yeah, so we were able to go there and stay there for the New Year's. So it was very
lovely.
nice.
And this Claudia's sister and her friends were there as well.
Yeah.
It was a really nice time.
So yeah, that's how we began 2024. And then for me, like, work has been going pretty well. I did interview for like a promotion, like a position within the administration. Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but it was a very good experience to kind of see kind of what that looks like and kind of what that side of things would be. So it was a great experience, and it was nice this year. We've kept our whole kind of third grade team together. Like on a team, there's 8 members, and 5 of the 8 of us came back this year, and everyone else is still at the school. They're just not on our team.
They're in other capacities.
Yeah, they're on. Yeah, and so that was really neat to come back this year and kind of everybody kind of know what the expectations are and kind of hit the ground rolling a little bit. So it's been good to work with everybody, and like this year has been a good year. Each year is without some challenges. I'm trying to manage students and kids, but like I'm really happy with my class. I have a great TA, Miss Skaggs. I had a really good TA last year, Mr. Masana, and they're kind of different personalities in the way they interact with people, but Miss Skaggs has been great this year, and we really kind of feed off each other very well. She's a veteran teacher, has been teaching for a number of years. And so
I think 15, she told us yesterday. Yeah.
And it's been interesting to see kind of her perspective and her being at different schools and kind of being here and kind of having ideas and like opinions on how things should be done. So it's been it's been nice to have her around.
Good.
Yeah, so that's kind of how things have been going for me with work. We're at the halfway point here. Grades are done. And so we have parent-teacher conferences coming up.
Nice.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add, when you were talking about your interview, I think another positive aspect of it was, I think it helped you think about what you want your future steps to look like in your career and what those steps might look like to you, what's an interesting next step, what might not be an interesting next step. Yeah. And just to have those types of thoughts and kind of get focused on what you're interested in. So I thought that was good for that reason too. So yeah.
How's work for you in 2024?
Oh my goodness, lots of things. So I think the first half of 2024, work was extremely busy, and I was working a ton. So at the end of the year, every year, our work, we do RRS, the recognition and reward system, and part of it is to look back at what you've done, and you do a self-evaluation and all this stuff. And so I was kind of looking back at what I've done, and the first 5 months, I was like, geez, I was really going and going. Like, I have a calendar with all my deadlines, and when I look back to January, February, March, April, May was a little bit more regular, but January, February, March, April was like 3 to 4 deadlines a week, like go, 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 go. And I look at it now and I'm like, how did I survive? Like, that was a lot. And the funny thing is the end or the beginning of this year was very similar to all of the previous year. Like, it was just a lot. So on one hand, I'm really proud of myself, but on the other hand, when I'm like having this deep-rooted exhaustion, I'm like, well, now I know why. I mean, I think there's lots of reasons that I have deep-rooted exhaustion, but I think one of them is working so hard for so long. But I really enjoy my work. I enjoy the people that I work with. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the person that I'm becoming, and the skills and challenges that I face skills I get to develop, and the challenges I face at work. So I'm really grateful to work in the environment that I do, and at the place I do, with the people that I do. So the first half of the year, lots of work deadlines, and then of course our baby was born on June 4th, 2024. And so I took maternity leave, so there was no work. Yeah. There was lots of like effort work, but not work of that capacity. And again, super grateful. I was able to take 20 weeks of leave, which is here in the States really great. Not the best of all, but certainly on the upper end.
Above average.
Yeah, and I like I said, I felt like that was an amazing time to bond with Winnie. Nobody at work bothered me. So the work that I do is oftentimes you might be on vacation and expect to still have to do work, or you get emails and deadlines and things come in, but this was we say at work, like, there's 2 times where you really won't be bothered, and that's if you are on your honeymoon, like you just got married, or if you are on your maternity leave. Yeah. And it's really true. I mean, I was not bothered. So it was great to have that dedicated time with Winnie, and it was also really great to be able to come back when I did, because I felt like it was at a good point where I felt like I had bonded really well with Winnie, and she was making strides in her sleep and strides in her like day schedule and everything, such that I didn't feel like I was going back to work when she was still all over the place. And so I feel like that made it easier for me to relinquish her to daycare, because I felt like I was giving daycare a baby that was going to be easier to take care of than if I had been doing that earlier. And I felt like I had that chance for her to bond with me and me to bond with her, so I didn't feel like
missed out on that.
I missed out on that. And I was also getting to the point where I was ready to be like back around adults and back, like, I love my child to the ends of the earth. And I think some people are built to be full-time caregivers and some people are not. And I would say that I'm in the second class where
other people may not.
Yeah. And so it was
and there's no right or wrong.
Correct. There's no right or wrong. That's not a value statement. It's just like being an introvert or an extrovert. Like, some people are good at some things, some people are good at other things, and there's no judgment associated with that. But I was like ready to go back to work, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I felt like I had the right amount of time for me without getting too long, but also not too short. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do that. And then the past couple months have been going back to work, which has been a unique challenge because there's been some changes at work. And so trying to navigate those changes and find my new place, but at the same time, the personal changes I feel like were bigger and more overarching.
Yeah.
And so trying to navigate being a working mom and how to manage my time and how to show up in both places to the capacity that I want to show up, because I don't feel like, I feel like it's a really hard challenge, and if I had infinite time, I could show up 100% exactly how I want.
Yeah.
But I don't have infinite time, and it's really important to me to be a present, loving mother, and it's also really important to me to be a good employee, and so learning how to be like 95% of my best, or in different capacities in different ways, but given the available time and the available energy, how can I optimize both? And that's been a challenge, and there's been a lot of learning, and I've only been back at work 2 months. I'm sure there'll be many more challenges and lots more learning, but it's very interesting to look at how things are going now compared to before I left.
The beginning of the year.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year. But everybody's been super supportive at work, super happy for me, super, trying to help in ways that they can help. You know what I mean? It's not like they've lowered the bar. I still have to meet my expectations. But there's a lot of acknowledgement and understanding that now I am juggling more things, which I really do appreciate.
Yeah.
So yeah, work has been interesting. I've been grateful also that, I don't know how the timing worked out so well, but We Need to Be Born, when you were on summer break.
Yeah.
At the beginning too, so we got to have your full summer break, the two of us at home. That was amazing. And then I went back to work third week of October, so only had a couple weeks before Thanksgiving break, and then a couple weeks before the Christmas holiday. So it was also really nice to like dip my toe back in and then have a vacation, dip my toe back in more and have a vacation, as opposed to like coming back first thing in January, and it's like Memorial Day is the first holiday, and that's just a one-day thing, so at least the first recognized holiday for my work. There's many holidays in between. Anyhow, so work's been good.
Nice. I kind of think that kind of segues into like family, and we spent Thanksgiving, like our yearly tradition at your families in Colorado, so that was a lot of fun, hanging out with everyone, seeing how big Oli and Wells are getting and growing their own little personalities, and kind of how they're different but the same in like different ways. It's great to see Jeff and his family, and well, not as like just Jeff and
Jeff
like,
and the whole family, Jeff and Hunter,
and so like everybody's kind of growing and like getting their own little, like just kind of developing their own little lives and kind of understanding what's important to them. So it was great to see everybody, and Grandpa Bill was there, and Joyce. It was good to see everybody, and went over to your dad's house for Thanksgiving dinner. And your dad's coming here tomorrow, so it was
Susan,
So it was great to see everybody and kind of get that family time. And my mom came out earlier this year. I think it was around August.
Yeah, beginning of August.
And she stayed here for about a week or so, and it was good to see her and get to introduce her to her newest grandbaby. She's got 10 so far, so she's been a grandmother for a while and is gonna keep being grandma for as long as we can, as long as it takes. So it was just great for her to have that time and be able to spend it here. And then my brothers, they're kind of moving, brothers and sisters, they're kind of moving all over. I have one in South Carolina, I'm here in Arizona. I have my youngest two sisters and my other brother, they're in Florida. So everybody's kind of growing up and getting their life together and doing it their way. So it's good to see.
Yeah, well, and I also wanted to mention, my mom and Scott came out when Winnie was born, and then my dad also came out a couple weeks later. Yeah. During the maternity leave. You mentioned your mom coming, so just want to acknowledge a lot of help from a lot of people, and we're really grateful for that. So, So what would you say was one of the most surprising things for you this year?
Surprising? I don't really have anything was like too surprising that happened in our life. I mean, there are things that like happened outside of our life that like I'm not at privy. I don't. Yeah, I don't have anything inside of our life that was too surprising. Like it all kind of everything
exactly as
went according to plan. Like I was able to go do my last man standing this year. Like we had a great time in Orlando. Like we had Winnie. Like everything went kind of according to plan. We are like to me there were not really any surprises. If there was like there was not really any surprises. Like there were like some, I would say some, not even disappointments, just like with coaching basketball per se. Like we made it to the state championship game, but we didn't win it. And we played a really good team. We played really well. And there's like, when I think about it, it's not really anything I would do to change like the strategy or anything we had. They just made a couple more plays. So I'm a little disappointed by that. Also with coaching, like I coach football as well. And unfortunately this year we weren't able to have like a season because of like limited participation. So that kind of like
was a
little like a bummer, but like we still were able to have some practices, and like I got to like coach the kids and work with them. And so like ultimately like the end results weren't like what, while I was coaching, the end results weren't what I would have hoped for. But like the journey was still there. I still got to be around some really good kids and kind of help them grow and develop and be around sports that I love. So like to me, there were not really any surprises. What about for you?
Well, I think I was surprised at just the whole journey into parenthood. And surprised in a way that it's hard to describe, because I feel like people will say things like, oh, you're never ready to be a parent, or like you never understand the love or the joy, or like, and I don't think that's really, coming to your point, I feel like I've been around enough children and interacted with enough children and had enough children in our family or in our life that I feel very strongly understanding what it is to take care of a child. Mm-hmm. And none of that has been surprising. Like I do tell people, when people are like, oh, how is it being a mom, you know, and I'm like, it's my favorite thing. I love being a mom. You know, my daughter's doing so good, and the bad parts are exactly as bad as I expected them to be, but the good parts are even better than I expected them to be. Yeah. And sure, people can tell you those things, but what was surprising to me is more of, I don't think anybody really focused on like the mental, I hate to call it the mental load because that sounds like a burden, and there is an added mental load that takes energy, but it's more of the like mental bandwidth, I guess. Mm-hmm. That so much of my day I'm thinking about her, and not necessarily like, oh, does she have enough diapers, or oh, this is happening, oh, you know, it's not the classic mental load. It's just thinking about her, you know. Yeah. And we talked about my quote unquote unhinged behavior. You know, I'd be on maternity leave and so tired because she's a young baby and there's not a lot of sleep being had, and it's like, okay, the baby's asleep, like let's go lay in bed, and what do? Look at pictures on my phone of my baby, right? Like, you know, and it's just one of those things where I mean I still do that if I have downtime. Like most of the time I'm like looking at pictures or videos of my own child that I took just yesterday, you know. Yeah. And it's just surprising to me how much I just want to do that. And naturally she's in my brain. Even when it's not thinking about her needs or anything, it's just enjoying her. And enjoying being around her and enjoying being her mom. So that was surprising to me. But I'm glad that nothing else was surprising. You know what I mean? I'm glad that...
Well,
all the hard stuff was just as hard as I expected and not more hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm also glad that all the good stuff was, even better than I expected, but at least as good as I expected it to be.
Yeah. I will say one of the surprises for me is like, and this is, I think, you hear stories about postpartum depression, and that's a real thing that women go through, and I was definitely like prepared for it to be like on a level 10. I have no idea what level 10 would have been like, but like, well, I don't feel like what
I
experienced what your experience was level 10.
I would completely agree with that.
And so like I was pleasantly surprised because I was prepared. I wanted to be surprised on the other end. I didn't want to be surprised like, oh, sure. Like this is like, because you hear stories about like postpartum and like you read about it and like I know that it's real, and I know that women experience it and it's very difficult for them, and I wanted to be like supportive, and like so I was prepared for level 10, and so it was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised that I thought you handled like postpartum very well, and so like that was a pleasant surprise.
Thank you, and thank you for being there to support me, because I wouldn't say every day was handled the best it could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that note, like I have a history that makes me more predisposed to have a higher likelihood of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, all that stuff, and I also feel like it was not as bad as it could have been, so I feel like I got very lucky in that regard. And I also feel like A, it wasn't as bad, but B, I had many more coping skills than possibly the average new mother has. I've already been to therapy for many, many years. I've already had like problematic thoughts and issues that I'm tackling in therapy, and learning tools to help with a lot of those feelings and a lot of those thoughts. But that's not to discount that I also feel like it was way more mild for me, right? So I'm not trying to say like, oh, I had coping strategies and that's why it was mild. Yeah. I'm trying to say it was mild to begin with, and in addition I had coping strategies that were just helpful to me. But I agree with you. I think that it's a very tough time, and there's a lot of things going on, and sometimes your body is not your own, and it can be very challenging. So I think that I wouldn't say any of that was like a surprise, but it was definitely like, okay, we're in this, we're going through this. But we're parents.
We are parents. I will say that like I've told one of my coworkers this, like everything is about what I expect it to be. Like you kind of said, like I have people in my life that I care for a lot, and I feel like I'm there for them just like I'm there for Winnie. So like that aspect of being a parent is I wouldn't say it was like, oh my God, like I've never felt this like feeling before. But there is like, for me, just like a little bit of like, oh, this is like Winnie's my responsibility. Like she might not turn out the way that like exactly how I picture that she's gonna turn out, but like I will have some impact, and like I will have some like effect on like the way that she turns out.
And not just like a large effect, right? And maybe not so much on the way that she turns out per se, because I do feel like so much is about the individual's choice and the individual's behaviors and attitudes. But relatively speaking, of all the things that can influence how a child turns out, I feel like their parents are a major one. Yeah,
and I'm meaning more of like I can't have the predetermined effect of, oh, like I want Winnie to be like exactly like
right. I want her to do this, so in order to get her there, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by like the effect. Like I do believe that I will have an effect, but it's not. I don't predetermine what that effect will be, or it can't be predetermined in my mind what that effect will be. I can have some influence and try to like steer her in certain ways, but like it won't. There's no 100% guarantee, and so kind of that responsibility I think about, and then also just like little moments of joy where it's like, yeah, I've definitely loved people before, but this is a little extra, a little like she brings me definitely some joy that is a little bit more than anyone else has done.
Yes. Well, and I say to you all the time, right? Like, no one's ever been cuter than Winnie, you know?
Yeah.
And like, of course, do I really think that my baby is the cutest baby of all this? Like, there are currently 7 billion humans on this planet. Let's think about now all the humans that lived in the past. Like, do I really think she's the cutest one out of all those billions of people? No, but I'm always going to think that she is. Absolutely, right? And like... So I don't know. I agree with you. I feel like she brings so much joy, and even just the most mundane of things, I just love being around her, and I love interacting with her. So. Yeah. So is that it? That was the fast little highlights 2024.
Yeah.
Any
Is there
other
any
thoughts?
I don't have any other thoughts. Like, it's been a really good year. Work is going well. Like, coaching is going well. Like, I think I said this at Thanksgiving. Like, life is going about as well as I could have imagined. Like a little 15-year-old me thinking about, oh, what will 40-year-old William want in life? This is about it. Yeah.
Good.
I'm sure like 2025 will bring its own challenges, and there'll be like goals and things that I want to continue to like be there for my people and continue to grow. But yeah, I think for me, 2024 that's about the majority of the highlights for me. What about you? Anything?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that Winnie is like the biggest highlight of them all. You and Winnie are the best Christmas gifts ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of think about, 2024, let's start talking about work. It's like 98% of my life now revolves around Winnie, right? And so it's hard for me to even, like, nothing else really comes close. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, we can talk about work, we can talk about all this other stuff, but like 2024, I thought that was her, but I think it's not her.
Yeah, I don't think that's her.
2024 is just kind of dominated by Winnie in my mind.
Yeah, I would definitely say she's a major part of it. Like the biggest piece of the pie.
Yeah, but for me, it's not just like, a little bit of the big, like, she's like almost the entire pie. So yeah, well, 2024 has been very good to us, and I'm sure 2025 will have its unique challenges. I do feel like this has been, 2024 for me has been like return to work light, and like working mom light, because of all those vacations, and it's only 2 months, etc. So I'm a little apprehensive, but also excited to see how 2025 turns out and where things go from here. But one thing I did want to say before we wrap up is we've discovered we have a #1 fan, Uncle Bob. So this is a shout out to Uncle Bob. Thank you for being such a great fan, and we love you, and we hope you enjoy these podcasts. And yeah,
thanks, Uncle Bob.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
This is